Hamburg is the second largest city in Germany, and it was in the city's red light district between 1960 and 1962 where the Beatles became the band that we all know and love. Because, as John Lennon once said, I may have been born in Liverpool, but I grew up in Hamburg. So, for today I have a very special video. Let's go to the top deck, I'm gonna show you.
Alright, this is exciting. We are here in Hamburg. Actually, I'm still on the ship because I work as a cruise ship musician. And it's my first time here, so I'm gonna take you to the best Beatles locations in town.
Alright, we're getting off the ship now. Okay, I'm already on the shuttle bus and heading into the city. So we made it to the city center, and so far I really like it. I think it's a really cool city. And now let's go to the first Beatle location, the Beatles Platz.
It's raining quite a lot actually, so I had to get an umbrella. Usually I don't mind the rain, but you know, my camera can't get wet. So anyways, we're still on our way to our first Beatle location here in Hamburg. So we made it. We're here at the Beatles Platz, and behind me you can see the statue of the Beatles.
So we are here just outside the Indra club, the first place where the Beatles ever played in Hamburg. Right after I recorded what I just said, somebody just started talking to me through that window. And I said, sorry, I don't speak German. And they were like, oh, okay. It's so crazy to be here where the Beatles used to play. As a Beatle fan, it really means a lot. So if you're not really into the Beatles, it might be just one more place. But for me, this is quite special. The Beatles' initial trip to Hamburg was due to a contract their manager, Alan Williams, also owner of the Liverpool's Jacaranda Club, made with a man named Bruno Koschmider. Bruno was the owner of two Hamburg clubs, the Indra Club and the Kaiserkeller, and he was willing to pay the Beatles €2.50 per person per day for a 2-month Indra Club residency. The band would also get to live at a place called the Bambi Kino. Bruno Koschmider was an ex-military man with little interest in music, and he pushed the Beatles to their very limits and beyond. The club owner demanded that if the Beatles wanted to keep their residency, they were required to perform for the clients all night long, and sometimes that meant from 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. To get through these long hours, the Beatles would take Preludin as a stimulant. The first show at the Indra Club was on the 17th of August 1960. So the Beatles performed at the Indra Club for 40 nights until it closed mid-October due to noise complaints. From there, they moved to the Kaiserkeller Club. It was slightly bigger and it was also owned by Bruno Koschmider. It's really close, so as you can see, that's the Indra Club right there, and here's the Kaiserkeller bar, the second bar where the Beatles played in Hamburg. As you can see, right behind me there is a group tour, but it's in German. And initially, I was gonna go on a tour, but all I could find were German tours, and my German is not very good. Actually, I don't even know a single word in German, maybe just Dankeschön. So yeah, I couldn't go on a tour, but I found an article online that actually I'm gonna link in the description because it helped me a lot to find all these places in Hamburg. When the Beatles started playing at the Kaiserkeller, there would be another band from Liverpool performing there as well. The band was called Rory Storm and the Hurricanes, and the drummer was none other than Ringo Starr. Both bands would play the same long nights as the Beatles had already endured at the Indra Club, and were to alternate sets on stage. Speaking of the Kaiserkeller stage, it was made up of no more than planks of wood set on top of crates. It was so rickety that the bands placed bets to see who would be the ones breaking it. The prize eventually went to Rory Storm and the Hurricanes. At the Kaiserkeller, the Beatles met one of their most influential German ladies, Astrid Kirchherr. Astrid was a Hamburg-born artist and photographer, and she went to see the Beatles with musician Klaus Voormann. Astrid took the early era-defining Hamburg photographs of the Beatles. She introduced them to a sleeker style of clothing, she gave the Beatles their mop-top hair, and eventually she stole the heart of Stuart Sutcliffe, the bassist of the Beatles, who decided to leave the band to stay with her in Hamburg. One night, the Beatles were supposed to be playing at the Kaiserkeller, but John Lennon was late and he was nowhere to be found. Eventually, one of the bouncers found him in the toilet being intimate with a young lady. To break up the couple and get Lennon back on stage, he turned on the shower above their heads. And he said, "You're going on stage, I don't care if you do it wet or naked." And John Lennon did exactly that. He went on stage wearing nothing but his underpants, completely wet, and with a toilet seat around his neck. At one point, the Beatles got tired of putting up with the abusive owner of the Indra Club and the Kaiserkeller. That's when they moved right here to the former Top 10 Club, where they were offered better conditions, a better place to live, more money and better equipment. Opened in 1960 by Peter Eckhorn, performing at the Top 10 Club was an enticing idea for the Beatles, who were done putting up with Kosmider and his abuse. Peter Eckhorn offered the Beatles better equipment, more money, and a marginally more comfortable place to sleep right above the club. However, taking the gig would mean breaking their contract with Kosmider. When the decision to leave the Kaiserkeller and begin working at the Top 10 Club was made, Kosmider decided to fire back at the band by reporting George Harrison for working underage, which sadly led to George Harrison's deportation. Then, when Peter Best and Paul McCartney went to the Bambi Kino, the place where they used to live, to retrieve their belongings, they found the place to be in total darkness due to Kosmider cutting the power. As a great middle finger to Kosmider, the boys found a condom, nailed it to the wall, and set it on fire for light. Kosmider then reported them for attempted arson, and Best and McCartney spent 3 hours in the police station. Eventually, they were deported as well. While Stu Sutcliffe decided to stay in Hamburg for a while longer with Astrid, John Lennon soon followed his 3 deported bandmates. Once George Harrison celebrated his 18th birthday, their immigration problems were sorted, and the boys went back to Hamburg to begin their residency at the Top 10 Club. The band played there until the 2nd of July 1961. So, we are just outside what used to be the Star Club. The Star Club first booked the Beatles on the 13th of April 1962, in celebration of the club's opening, and they liked them so much that they had them back that November. By the second Star Club gig, Ringo Starr had become the permanent drummer. The Beatles were able to afford single rooms in hotels, and they had a big enough following to have their performance recorded in the form of The Beatles live at the Star Club in Hamburg, Germany, 1962. The Star Club was a must-stop for many major artists. The Beatles shared the bill with artists such as Gary and the Pacemakers, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Little Richard. However, the Star Club's heyday was short-lived. By 1969, after a few years of its owner being in prison for assault, the venue's finances were in trouble and it closed its doors. While the building later burned down, there is still a small gravestone-like memorial at the site dedicated to the club. Yes, John? Listen, why don't you come down? Let's have a beer, mate. So, we are here just outside the Bambi Kino, the first steady address the Beatles had in Hamburg. It's just around the corner from the Indra Club, and it used to be a cinema where people could watch porn and westerns. Without heating or windows at the Bambi, the Beatles were living in really rough conditions. This is right now a private residence. Actually, I've just seen some people walking out the door, but the current owners put on this plaque, and I suppose that means the Beatles lived here, although it kind of looks like it says the Beatles died here. Paul McCartney said, "We lived backstage in the Bambi Kino, next to the toilets, and you could always smell them. The room had been an old storeroom, and there were just concrete walls and nothing else. No heat, no wallpaper, not a lick of paint, and 2 sets of bunk beds with not very much covers. We were frozen." So, this is pretty much it for now. This is all the most important Beatles locations here in Hamburg. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook. There is a PayPal link for donations. Of course, every donation will be absolutely appreciated. And the most important thing is, if you like the Beatles, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and you check out my other videos because you're definitely going to find them interesting. Thank you so much for watching until the end. See you next time. Bye.
Well, I'm afraid that's us run out of time.
Oh,
I'm really
okay.
sorry.
Oh,
So,
bye, everyone.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I give my heart to you, I must be